All right, guys. So this is like the seventh time I've done this because I find it to be atrocious. But anyways, I'm going to talk about my first response paper, and it's over the transactional model. So to understand the transactional model, in my opinion, we got to understand how it differs from the other models. Um, Other models are more of a linear thought process, I guess, where you have someone communicating and then you have someone receiving that information. And then some models have a feedback loop where the receiver kind of gives input to the sender, and then the sender can kind of modify how they're going. But it's kind of chunky. It's not a continuous process. So the transactional model um, takes into account all that stuff. So it's more of a fluid situation. So just it's not like we have a step by step. It's not like a flow chart when we talk. I talk, I wait, see how you respond, and then you talk. It's organic. And for me, uh, it a good way to understand that. The transactional model includes everything from our tone of voice, our posture, if we're talking with our hands like I am. And uh, for me, just our tone and how we emphasize things can have a huge impact on what we're actually trying to communicate. So, in my paper, I wrote about the question, what are you doing? If you emphasize different words in that question, you get completely different meanings. Like, if your kid's doing something bad or you're, getting in trouble, it's the what is emphasized. What are you doing? So, that's one way to say this sentence. But if you emphasize you, like, what are you doing? It kind of tells us that there's other things that are going on around us, but we're trying to clarify what exactly you are doing. What specifically are you doing? So I think it's pretty cool that we have all those options in communicating. I was in the Marine Corps and I flew in the back of helicopters where, there's you had a formal communication system where you could talk through the helmet, but everybody in the aircraft could hear you talk. So there was a lot of nonverbal communication that happened between us in the back, so that we could have a conversations without the pilots hearing it. Or if you know, when you become senior, you're teaching people, and if you're trying to get on somebody, you don't want to be hollering at them. Where if you're flying with a general or something, that they get to hear that and listen to it. So it's really important, in situations like that. You don't think about how much you can learn from someone until you do it regularly, and it's pretty neat to have that experience and understand that. But I think for me, the the scene that I decided to write about was from the movie Good Will Hunting, and it's when Will, who's a troubled kid, he gets in trouble and he has to go to counseling. He's with his counselor, Sean McGuire. Will asked Sean when he knew. He, Will asked Sean when he knew his wife was the one, because Will's chasing girls, and Sean gives him the exact date, and then goes into this story about how it was the last game of the Red Sox World Series, and it was this crazy, you know, Carlton Fisk hit this home run, and they, they kind of Sean got really animated, and he ran around the room showing how Carlton Fisk was pushing people, the fans that had rushed the field after he hit this home run. But in that scene, they start out and they're more formal because it's a formal scenario. And when Sean starts describing to Will the night in question, he opens up and he becomes, their language becomes more informal, and it's more fluid, and they're interacting, they're having a conversation. Their body language is different. But then at the very end of it, Sean brings it back to reality and tells him, you know, why he missed that game instead of going to it. It's because he's seen this beautiful girl, you know, the most gorgeous woman he's ever seen, walked into a bar before the game, and he knew at that moment that he had to see about a girl, as he says. So, you know, and it's that scene to me speaks a lot. One, the subject is pretty cool, but two, just how you can see, you know, when they first start out, their body language, they're both tight, and then they start talking and they open up and they're more informal, and then at the end they get back to that the more formal talk because it's a more serious matter. But it's pretty crazy stuff. If you haven't seen the movie Good Will Hunting, I would highly recommend it. So, but kind of with that and seeing a formal person in an informal light, have you had any interactions with somebody that you have a formal relationship with? You know, talk candidly or more open and more honest. I find those moments to be extremely enlightening to actually understand like how our bosses think and stuff like that. And then that's my first question. And my second question is, when you have a new relationship with someone, or say like at work you have a supervisor that you're not super comfortable with or close with, how do you build that rapport? Like, how do you communicate with them in order to, you know, have a more comfortable way of communication with them so that you can be more open and more honest and stuff? So yeah, that's all I got. Thanks.